Let's start with the Eastern Conference champions in the 2024-25 season. Horwat, who do you have?
I was hoping you wouldn't let me lead off. I don't have a team written down for the East because I'm telling you, I'll try and find one as I talk and ramble for a minute. There are so many good teams in the East. There are none that stand out as the runaway. Yeah. In the West, you could probably pick a runaway, maybe two, and maybe I'll get goofy. But in the East, it's so many good playoff teams, but then a bunch of teams that struggle to get over the hump, except for the fact the Panthers did it last year. I don't see the Panthers repeating. I don't see them making the Cup final just because
they've done it 2 years in a row. That's hard.
Yeah, it's tough to make it three, and they weren't the Tampa team that did it.
Yeah.
And Tampa got really good this offseason, but
they
did lose
even Tampa. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
Tampa got that with the COVID shortened season,
yeah,
the COVID playoffs. Like, there were mitigating circumstances that kind of changed everything surrounding Tampa making it 3 straight years. This would be 3 straight pure years for the Florida Panthers, which if they do it and win, I'd say makes them a more impressive dynasty or mini dynasty than what we saw from Tampa in the early 2020s. But again, that's a conversation for a different day. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. I just can't put my faith in most of these teams. I just can't. And I know who you're going to say, I think, for the East. So I'm going to try and switch it up as much as I can. And say, screw it. The Rangers, you're coming off of a President's Trophy season. Yeah. They didn't lose really anybody. And if their captain thinks this is the last dance season for him and 2 to 3 veterans, not so much the young guys, why not go all out? So give me the Rangers out of the East, while I probably change that answer tomorrow.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of good teams, but nobody that can run away. I think in the East, there's always been a lot of teams that are excellent in the regular season. If you just watch the regular seasons over the last half decade, you'd say, man, those should always be Stanley Cup contenders. But there's a lot of teams that are great in the regular season and then just falter when the playoffs start. I mean, look at Carolina. Last year was the best and the closest they've gotten. They still didn't make the conference finals. Look at the New York Rangers are a perfect example. They are a team that just cannot, and I repeat, cannot get over the hump. It's literally getting to Washington Capitals levels, except there's just not one boogeyman in the closet for the New York Rangers like the Penguins were for the Capitals. So I do think it's a little bit of a toss-up once you get to the playoffs this year. And it's not because they're 2-0 already. It's because I believe that it's due time for a Metropolitan Division team to get there. It's going to be the first time since 2018 if it happens. I'm going to go with the New Jersey Devils. I'm high on them. And yeah, 2018, you have to think about it, but last 2 is the Florida Panthers. 3 previous were the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the 1 previous was the Boston Bruins. So it's, the Capitals in 2018 and the Penguins in 17 and 16. Those are the last Metro teams to make it.
Handicapped along by the same 2 teams making it multiple years in a row. But yeah, that's
5 of those years were 2 teams. Yes. The same state too.
State of hockey, apparently.
State of no income tax.
State might be underwater soon. No, I'm kidding. Actually, everyone stays safe down there for real. That's
yes.
Brutal. My mom lives down there, and she's staying around for the second one. So really, everyone stay safe down there if you listen from down there. But and I don't mind the Devils either because the East could straight up be goofy.
Yeah.
Like, it could just turn out some random team made the playoffs. Like, let's say the Sabres stumble their way in and that team gets hot all of a sudden. You never know. I mean, it could. I just can't put my faith in the big dogs like the Leafs, like the Hurricanes, even like the Rangers for the most part.
Yeah. How did I mention teams that falter in the playoffs and not mention the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Exactly. Because we're just so used to it. I just have the list of teams in front of me. I kept looking at the Leafs and going, no chance. Next.
Death taxes and the Leafs losing in the playoffs are the 3 guarantees in life.
Yeah. And not to continue bagging on the Leafs, but I just in good faith can't say they'll make the Cup final. I can't. And would I like to be proven wrong? No, honestly.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it, to be completely honest. But again, that's personal preference and that's not belief. Because it's like the Penguins winning a playoff series right now. I won't believe it until I see it. Until I see the Leafs win not 1, but at least 2 playoff series, I'm never going to have any belief that they're going to win a Stanley Cup. But we're getting a little long-winded about the East. We'll have 6 months to talk about the Eastern Conference. So let's talk about the Western Conference a little bit. This one, how much we talked about Connor McDavid, I don't need to get a long drawn out answer here. I think the West champs are the Edmonton Oilers.
Yep. They most likely are. I like the Oilers pick. I had that written down until I changed it to get goofy. Yeah, not much more needs to be said about Edmonton. I will say this though, in in the story I wrote for Breakaway on SI, where I tried to give a bold prediction for every team in the Central Division,
Pacific?
I said the Nashville Predators would
Central.
be I said the Nashville Predators would be in the Western Conference Final.
Ooh.
And this is where I'm going to get goofy. I'm going to say they somehow beat the Oilers to make to the Stanley Cup Final, giving me a New York Rangers Nashville Predators Stanley Cup Final. So much fun, actually, to think about.
Well, to be fair, I also thought about the Predators because I like what they did.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I can't imagine a Devils Predators Stanley Cup Final. Like I can't,
yeah.
I can't picture both of those teams getting over the hump in the same year. So I had to go with somebody who has a little bit more of a proven track record in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And that's a totally fair answer. I just think the Predators can be one of those goofy teams that, because the West is also pretty wide open, again, minus teams like the Oilers. So why not stumble your way in? And if UC Soros is Vezina caliber, especially in the postseason, no one's beating him. If that forward group really finds a rhythm, heck yeah. And they have better depth than you think. It's a bunch of, I don't want to say no names, but
it's homegrown talent for the most part.
Yeah.
It's homegrown talent. Most of the national, people that are outside of that market don't know it. It's what the Penguins did for so long. I mean, people didn't know who Brian Rust was, Jake Gensel. They're like, who are these people? Yeah. And all of a sudden they become key cogs to a Stanley Cup. So you could have similar things down there in Nashville. So you have Nashville and the Rangers. I have the Devils and the Oilers. It's nice that we have 4 different teams in here. Who's the Stanley Cup champion? I'm telling you right now, October 8th. Give me the answer. Give me the winning lottery ticket, Horwat. Who's winning the Stanley Cup?
So of those 2 teams that I picked, I would give the Predators the edge in a 7-game series.
Ooh, a Preds Stanley Cup season would be interesting. Do you think they'd have a U2 concert at the parade?
Maybe, and I would hope they would parade goalposts down Broadway again.
Ooh, yes, that would be pretty good. Just start the parade at Vanderbilt and then just right down Broadway with the same goalpost.
Same goalpost.
Save that one. Save it because you're going to need it in 6 months.
The crowd left Bridgestone, went all the way down Broadway, broke into, I think it's called First Bank Stadium, tore the goalposts down, and pulled them all the way back up to the Cumberland River. By the way, that was the most fascinating thing to watch over the weekend on Twitter.
Was great.
That was awesome.
Cool. I mean, between that and the actual game, I mean, Alabama losing that game was crazy.
Love it. And speaking of the connection, Nashville Predators head coach Andrew Burnett was part of the parade. He helped the students out as it went past Bridgestone. So the good karma is already there. And most of the reason why I would give the Predators the edge in a 7-game series is, like I said before, I just can't in good faith pick anyone in the East to make it to the final. Someone had to make it there. The Rangers seemed like the strongest. What makes me believe that they could do it in the final?
Yeah, that's a fair assumption. That's a fair analysis there. And because of reasons of Connor McDavid, and I'll keep it short with that, Edmonton Oilers are your 2025 Stanley Cup champions.